Hey everyone, Dockwell here, and in today's video, I'm going to be giving you the top 5 winners and losers of patch 7.37e so far for the meta. And before we get into it, I just wanted to let you guys know that I'm going to be streaming every Monday through Friday about 7 p.m. to 1 or 2 a.m. Eastern Time for the foreseeable future. So I'm really excited about being able to do that going forward. The link to my Twitch is down below, so be sure to go there and follow so you know when I go live. And I'm planning on doing community games, replay reviews, and some other more interactive things with the community there, so be sure to tune in and check it out. And starting out with the winners, at number 5 we have Lena. So this hero did get a small buff. It was just some damage on her shard, so it didn't seem like it's going to be that big of a deal. But I think with all the nerfs to all these other heroes that were really strong, she was kind of teetering on the edge of being relevant, of being pretty good, and now that kind of just propelled her to be basically one of the best mid heroes in the patch right now, one of the best heroes in general. You could maybe still play her as a carry, but she seems more like a mid. And really, this hero has had the biggest jump in pick rate and even a big jump in win rate across all the statistics, like if you look in-game or on Dota buff. And so that is just one of those things that I think this hero is very, very good right now. You can play her as a right-click kind of carry even from the mid, or people are really going for that magic damage build, which I think is pretty powerful right now, especially since they did just buff that with the shard. Then next at number 4, we have OD, and this hero, it's very similar to Lena in the sense that it just got a small buff on its intelligence gain, basically the passive that it has innately, which doesn't seem like a lot, but this hero is one of those where if you get too much mana, if you get too much intelligence on this hero, the ult will just delete every hero in the game. It's kind of insane. So it's one of those kind of fine lines where this hero could just be very terrible or then just tip over into completely broken if it gets buffed too much. And I'm not going to say that this hero is completely broken right now, but I do think it's a very, very good pub stomp kind of hero because you just absolutely melt people with your right click, and then you also blow people up with your ultimate, and it can be very hard to deal with. And also, this has been something for a while, but don't count out the ags on this hero because it makes it so tanky, hard to bring down. If you get that late game, you can be an absolute beast in solo carry. So just look out for OD. This hero is kind of on the upswing and can be very, very good this patch. And then next at number 3, we have Bounty Hunter. This was already basically one of the best, if not the best hero of the last patch. If you looked at any of the pro games, this was getting first banned every single game. And yes, they did nerf it. And don't get me wrong, 10 mana at max level on a spell that you're spamming, is kind of significant because this hero uses that to harass, to farm, to do a lot of damage in fights. It's not like that's nothing, but think about it. You have to cast the ability 10 times for 100 mana. That's really not that significant. I think the hero's strengths are still there. It still is extremely hard to deal with. It does overwhelming damage. All those things are there, and you generally just want to get a mana item anyway because you're going to be using so much mana in the first place. So it's not like anything has really changed about the hero. It's just a little bit less. You might have, some issues of being mana starved in certain matchups or at certain times, but really it's not that big of a deal. So Bounty is still way up there, still very, very good, but I'm not putting it at the top of the list because it was so good last patch. It just didn't get nerfed enough, I think. And then coming in at number 2, we have Dragonite. This is similar to Bounty Hunter, another hero that was really, really good in the last patch. Now, this hero wasn't the main hero. It wasn't the Lena, Medusa, SF kind of carry, but it was one tier right below that, and it was very, very good. And it didn't get touched at all in the patch, which is a little bit surprising because, some of those other heroes that maybe weren't broken but were still pretty good did get nerfs, and Dragonite didn't. So he just obviously a winner when he didn't get any nerfs and he was good last patch. So now I think this hero is basically the carry. I mean, with all the other carries kind of going downhill from what they were before, and he was already getting picked a lot, I think DK is going to be the main carry of the patch, barring some other kind of rise of other carries, maybe because the ranged carry meta's done in some ways because a lot of them got nerfed. Maybe you see melee carries coming back into the focus, and so Dragon Knight isn't as good for some reason, but I still think he is going to be at the top of that list just because he didn't get any nerfs. So nothing really different has changed about him. He still goes Armlet, he still goes Mask of Madness, S&Y, you still pick the red facet, all that kind of stuff. Nothing crazy has changed with him. It's still pretty much the same hero. And then lastly, at number 1, we have Dawnbreaker, another hero that basically didn't get touched at all, and so that was really, really good for Dawnbreaker because she was kind of a rising star at the end of that last patch. People didn't really realize that she existed or was very good, and then people started picking her in pros, and then everyone was like, wait, this hero actually does insane amounts of damage. You can get her ags, which is really, really good, and this spell cooldown thing is great too. You have a save where you can save people across the map. It just is great in so many different ways. Extremely strong laner, hard to bring down, has that built-in BKB with a shard. All those things just add up to people realizing, wait, this hero can do a little bit of everything, and it's just a very, very good hero, and then not being touched in the patch at all. Kind of, I think because it was on the back end of rising in the patch, in the meta, they just kind of ignored it, and now it seems to be like universally the best hero. I mean, if you look in the past month, it has the biggest win rate increase and the biggest pick rate increase, I think, of any hero in the patch. So it definitely is the dominant hero right now, and definitely the winner of the patch, because it was already on the upswing and then everything else got nerfed. So now it's just by and far the best hero, probably, especially in the offlane, but maybe the best hero overall in the whole patch right now. So Dawnbreaker definitely number one for best winner of the patch so far. And now for losers, we have Sand King at number 5. This hero was very good last patch, but got nerfed a lot on its best ability, which is Sandstorm. Yes, it does have that free ability that it got, you know, when they introduced facets and passives, which is great, but that's just an added bonus. It wasn't the thing that made the hero good. The thing that made the hero good was Sandstorm. Yes, you could be invis with the one facet, and then you could have it follow you around and do a ton of damage, be like this mini radiance that you pretty much always have up, and you get Bloodstone, all that kind of stuff. Well, that's nerfed. It's not like completely gone. You can still do that, but the duration is decreased and the damage is decreased. So it's just not as good of a hero, and that was the main thing that made the hero good. So you can see that the win rate and pick rate have plummeted on this hero. So it just was not a very good patch with those nerfs. Then next at number 4, you can probably predict the next 3 heroes, honestly, is Shadow Fiend. So I kind of joked about this hero getting buffed in the patch, but obviously that was a little bit of a joke. Now, yes, its ability that nobody picked at all did get buffed because it was so bad that it was like, why would you ever even get it? So that's a little bit better, but that doesn't really make up for the fact that overall the damage on the hero was nerfed, the minus armor on the hero was nerfed. It's not unplayable by any means. You can still pick it. I think it's still a decent carry. It's viable. It's just not completely broken, where last patch it really felt broken. Like, you could snowball out of control with all these kills and all this minus armor, where you would just like 3-shot buildings, you would 2-shot supports. It was absolutely ridiculous. Now it's a little bit less ridiculous. Yes, it feels bad compared to what it was before, but I still think it's good. You know, if we didn't have anything to compare it to, I think this still would be a good patch for Shadow Fiend, but just a big loser because it was broken. I don't think it's really broken anymore. Then coming in at number 3, we have Medusa, and this hero did get nerfed, but it was one of those where how much did that really affect the hero? You know, you can do the math and all that kind of stuff. You can see what that does, you know, intellectually, but until you actually play it, until the pros get their hands on it, until high Immortal players can actually feel how good the hero is with those nerfs, it's hard to really say how big or how effective that nerf is. And we can say now with the drop in win rate and pick rate that this hero just isn't as good as it once was, you know, because in the laning stage, later in the game even, you would often get this hero down to just a sliver of mana, or, you know, maybe you would drain all the hero's mana and then they would replenish with some mangoes or a stick or whatever, and that would just put her over the edge to deal that extra damage to win the team fight, all that kind of stuff. And that's just not happening as much, or it feels a lot easier to bring her down to full than it did before because of those nerfs. So it's hard to say whether this hero is completely dead, because it feels like an all or nothing hero where it's either impossible to kill or very easy to kill. So we'll see how it plays out, if this hero just disappears completely, or if it still is just a middle of the road okay carry. It's really hard to say at this point, but it definitely is a loser for this patch. Then coming in at number 2, we have Lena, and this is the last of those 3 obvious carries. SF, Medusa, Lena all got significant nerfs in this last patch, but I think Lena is the biggest loser because her talents were shifted, Kondo was also nerfed, and that was a big thing for why this hero was good, because you would get these talents and then you would get level 25 and you would just delete people with Kondo and just hitting one beam on a couple heroes. It was absolutely absurd, but now it's not as absurd as maybe it once was. It's still viable, you still can do damage, you still push towers really quickly, you still farm. All these things are still viable. Same thing with Medusa and SF, I think. These heroes still exist. I think they're fine. They haven't been completely wrecked. The patch wasn't that big, but it is definitely not broken. And if you look at the win rate and pick rate, it's definitely decreased a lot, if not the most, out of any hero. So definitely one of the biggest losers right now in this patch. And then lastly, the number 1 loser of the patch has to be Wraith King. And when I was reviewing the patch and I said in my video, I was a little bit confused. I was like, wait, Wraith King is getting nerfs? I didn't really see it in very many of my games. I wasn't seeing it in pro games very much. I wasn't seeing it as relevant on Dota 2 Pro Tracker, but apparently this hero was an absolute menace in most pub brackets. When you went and looked at the statistics, it was absolutely ridiculous what this hero was doing. You could play it carry, you could play it off lane. I thought that had fallen out of favor. I thought that had kind of gone away as being a viable build, but apparently it was absolutely crazy. So they nerfed a bunch of those things, and I would say the reason why it's number one on the list is just because it wasn't super relevant at high level pubs. It wasn't super relevant in the pro scene. I, even at my bracket, was not seeing it a lot. So the fact that it's getting nerfed even from there really is killing the hero, I think, overall in general. It's just one of those where it was a very big pub stompy hero, I guess. It was very hard for a lot of, 3Ks or below to deal with, and they just had to nerf it because of that. But now it's just not going to be viable almost anywhere in any pubs. It's got a significant decrease in win rate and pick rate because of that. So that's why Wraith King is the number one loser for this patch. We'll see if he, I don't know, maybe still stomps pubs anyway. Who knows? Because sometimes the pro players, the higher level statistics don't actually matter. So anyway, that is the video, guys. Let me know if you liked the video. Like, comment, subscribe, all those kinds of things. And as always, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.